There we go. All right. All right. Well, good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining us. If we haven't had a chance to meet yet, my name is Natalie. I'm the Director of Strategic Partnerships for the Harford County Chamber. And under that, I oversee the Venture Access, which is its own 501c3 nonprofit that's powered by the Chamber in partnership with the Harford County Office of Community and Economic Development. And Venture Access was really designed as a resource center for entrepreneurs, small business owners in the area. We want to be here as a resource for you to share events, to share information, to share community, and really help business owners, whether you are just starting off, your very first business idea, all the way through opening your first business, expanding a business. We want to be there to support you. So thanks again for joining us this morning. And we're looking forward to hearing from Dominic on attracting and re-engaging customers. So I will turn it over to you.
Great. Thanks, Natalie. I'm glad to be here to present this morning. And we'll just get right into it because there's a lot of stuff to cover and I want to make sure there's some time for questions if there are any at the end. I will probably close the chat window just so I don't get distracted, which is easy to do. So if you want to pile up questions there in the chat, that's fine. And we'll open that up at the end and see if there's anything that needs attention. Cool. Yeah. So let's get into it. Let's see. On the right. There we go. So yeah, what we're going to cover today, we're going to talk a little bit about using Google to generate more leads for your businesses in the next 3 months without blowing your marketing budget. 2, we're going to talk about how to choose the right bait to fish for your ideal customer faster and more effectively with an understanding of how the different digital marketing tactics will deliver different results. And finally, we have the 4-step marketing framework that we use to help our clients get more business and more customer activity. So let me just start with setting the stage here. Being challenged in life is inevitable and being defeated is optional. I came across this quote recently and it really spoke to me, especially with the last, 2 years of business and reopenings and shutdowns and interruptions with schools and interruptions with just being able to get your work done, right? Being challenged is inevitable. The challenges obviously we faced are a little bit unprecedented, but being defeated is optional. And so challenge breeds opportunity. That's what I take from that quote. And just the fact that you all are here, that you're all part of Venture Access, so that you're all part of the chamber or even interested in what the chamber is doing and you're here because you're on their email list or whatever, that's awesome. That tells me that you're making an investment in yourself, you're making an investment in your business. And those are the sorts of people that I really like to engage with, just even for networking or conversations or one-to-ones or whatever. But I really like to be talking to people who are really engaged in learning and getting more out of what they're doing. So who is this presentation for? It's basically for anyone who wants to generate more business. Business owners who want clarity and certainty in where they invest their efforts in marketing specifically, and businesses who want to make 2022 the best year ever. So who are we? Who am I? I'm Dominic Vecchiollo. In my agency, I have a digital marketing agency called DOSSU Digital Marketing, or DOSSU Design and Consulting. I'm midway through a rebranding right now, so you're going to see both of those names interchangeably for a while. It's actually DOSSU. It's the marketing agency with the funny name. So DOSSU was a childhood nickname that my siblings used when I was a kid. And having a 6-year-old of my own now at home, and having him, grow up and learn to talk and walk and all those things, I realized that DOSSU was probably a name I called myself that my siblings picked up on and started calling me. So I probably said something like DOS or Da. I mean, who could learn to say Dominic when you're 18 months old or whatever when you're learning to talk? So, so when I started my agency in 2001. More than 20 years ago, I was looking for a URL because I really couldn't use Vecchiollo in a URL. It's hard to spell, right? Not that DOSSU is much easier, but at least it's shorter. And so nowadays I have a character URL, and that's really a bonus. I'm also a member of a group called Agency Coach, which is a collective of digital agency owners from across the country and really around the world who we share best practices with each other. We meet every week. We have a quarterly mastermind. We really we spend a lot of time learning what's working for other people's clients around the country and what's working for our agencies individually, and spend some time helping each other out. It also serves as a resource. So it's not just what I'm doing here in Baltimore or Maryland, but it's, I'm tapping into what's working for other people around the country and keeping abreast of trends and making, looking for ways to make things more efficient for my customers. So that's kind of a little bit of an introduction. And yeah, we're ready to dive in to secret number one. Google tells all. So this is all about what we can learn from Google. So one thing that happened during the pandemic is that more people were at home and more people were online than ever before. So visibility is up online. Internet traffic surged over the last 2 years, and people are spending more time online. People have more voice devices in their home. So people have, the Echo Dot and the Google Voice thing and the Apple whatever it is, all of those things, all of those voice devices. We've had an increase of more than 50% of those devices in people's homes. And that means that voice search is more popular or more important than ever before. And people are searching for things like, is your business open? Is your business open? What are your hours? How has your practice or your business changed in terms of what you're offering? This graph shows just an example of what happened during the initial lockdowns in 2020. We saw increases in call volumes from Google, your Google business profile, in the early part of the pandemic, and things really dropped off during those initial lockdowns in March and April and May. When things started to reopen in June, we saw a huge increase. It was call volumes from Google business profiles jumped 27% higher than before the pandemic. And one of the reasons for that is that people wanted all the information I was talking about before. Is your business still open? Is it still a viable choice? How are you operating in the pandemic? What are the new regulations or the new rules in your particular business? People need to know this. And people have come to learn that in many cases, the Google business profile used to be called Google My Business. The Google business profile is more accurate than a lot of companies' websites. So they've come to rely on that quite a bit. So yeah, as the pandemic continues, as we sort of normalize the pandemic situations, people are still asking, is your business dormant? Is it closed? Is it still a valid option? The other thing that combined with this is, at least initially, ad costs were down. And strategically, if you are strategic about your advertising, it can be very very advantageous to you. So you might be thinking, okay, that's great. Internet traffic is up, ad costs are down, but really nobody wants to buy what I have in this environment. So I went out to Google Trends, and this is what I expected to see for a lot of search terms in the last couple of years. And this is really what a search term looks like when people really lose interest in your product or services. And so this is an interesting case. So this is a brand name search for a company that really started to phase out of operation in about 2008, and by 2013 just wasn't really even barely on the map, and might even not be and probably is not in business anymore. I think they did declare bankruptcy. And that the answer to that question is, the search term is, this is Blockbuster. And so this is what it looks like when the Google search just dries up for the search term. And so I went out and looked at a bunch of search terms and found that search volumes were even or even going up a little bit. This is the case of accountants. It stayed pretty even. It went up at the beginning of the pandemic, and it sort of held steady since then. Plumbers stayed very steady. there might have been a cold snap here in January of 21 there, and there was an increase in plumbers, lawyers, dentists, dermatologists, bunch of doctor types here. So yeah, so things really held steady throughout the pandemic, and we didn't see that. So people are still looking for products and services across the board. And what does this mean for you? It means with more internet traffic, ad costs being down, searching holding strong, that people are looking for answers and people are looking for leaders. And so that means that your business is in the spotlight, center stage. But what can you do with that attention? What should you do? So this is an example of a colleague of mine from Agency Coach who did a bunch of, at the beginning of the pandemic, they did a bunch of calling. They started really hitting the ground and they called a bunch of pool builders. This is in the Southwest. And they started calling a bunch of pool builders. And they called one guy who said, "How dare you call me? Don't you realize that, business is tanking? Everything is, why would I be advertising right now? Why would I be looking into my digital marketing? This is ridiculous. You should be ashamed of yourselves." And so they hung up the phone, they called the next pool builder, and that pool builder said, "Oh my gosh, thank you. I really need to ramp it up because there's a huge demand right now. People are at home. People have kind of extra money in some cases, and they want to spend it on doing things, and I need to get in front of them." And so that just goes to the mindset of scarcity versus abundance, and people who really want to grow even in adverse situations. So the idea is to lead with hope and not fear. Think about abundance, lead with abundance and not scarcity. And how you act as a business owner will teach your customers how to act as well. And I do that personally by focusing on value, by offering value to my clients and to all of my contacts and to all of the people that I work with and network with on a regular basis. Another way to do this is by being flexible, to try things that perhaps you once ignored or you were closed off to. Because here's the truth: if you have a business and you want it to stay strong into the future, now is always the time to attract customers. For a lot of practices and a lot of businesses, they were just on autopilot before the pandemic. They were just kind of coasting along. Things were going good. They were kind of doing the regular things. But you know what? Autopilot is off. It has been off for a couple of years. So I want to go into some marketing fundamentals that will really help kind of frame thinking about that. And that's when we get to secret number 2. So secret number 1 is Google is showing us that the demand is still out there for all of our products and services. Secret number 2 is how to choose the right bait to fish for your ideal customer faster and more effectively. And to do that, because it's easy to get overwhelmed by all of the various tactics out there. I mean, look at this list on the left. We've got all of the digital marketing tactics that are available to you. You've got your website, you've got advertising on Facebook and pay-per-click and display advertising. You've got social media posts. You've got lead gen campaigns, you've got email marketing, chat box, search engine optimization, all of these things going on in the digital world. And on the right, you've got even all the not old fashioned, but all the traditional ways of marketing. You've got your print stuff, your billboards, your buses, TV, radio, direct mail, all of that stuff that happens in a traditional marketing environment. And so it can get overwhelming. And the answer, what you really need to understand is what you're going to get from the different tactics, because businesses often get sold on individual tactics without considering if it's the right tool for your bigger picture goal and truly understanding what is going to happen from that, what to expect from that particular tactic, because not all marketing strategies serve the same goal. So the question is, what are you fishing for, right? You've got different lures in your tackle box, and you need to know exactly what you're fishing for. So I like to frame it by looking at the sort of the buying cycle in the customer journey. And we've sort of got these 4 stages: awareness, consideration, the actual purchasing process, and then advocacy. And our marketing efforts can map to these different stages of the customer's journey. So anything you do is always going to influence the awareness, consideration, purchase, or advocacy phase of the buying cycle. So this is an example of a company that might be advocacy is all about word of mouth. So people have had a great experience with you and they're spreading the word, and you've got word of mouth going on, but you're not doing anything to build awareness or to help people who are already in that consideration phase choose your business. This is another example of when you've got a lot of, maybe you're only doing pay-per-click marketing or something like that. You don't have a strong campaign to help that word of mouth, and you're not building awareness for passive audiences. So, and this is a very common model right here, where people are really focusing on those consideration people. And we'll go into more about what those look like. But this is what balanced marketing looks like when you've got kind of things focused on all three of these categories, where we're attracting passive audiences, we're engaging active searchers, and we're also encouraging people to spread their experiences through word of mouth and reviews. And so the problem some businesses have is the marketing is unbalanced, like those first two diagrams. So we want, everything to be kind of flowing through the process over and over again. So there are those three. We didn't really focus on the purchase process much, but we're talking about awareness, consideration, and advocacy. And I'm going to talk about 3 ways to find customers on the internet to map those 3 things. We've got active searchers, which are mapping to the consideration. We've got passive prospects, which are in the awareness phase, and referrals, which are in the advocacy phase. So what does that mean? So consideration, these are known as your hot buyers. These are active searchers. So this is an example. Let's take like solar power as an example. You've got somebody who is very keen on the environment, who's always thought they're going to buy a house, they're going to get solar installed right away, and they're going to start, trying to reduce their electric bills. And they're totally up on all of the stuff about solar power, of adding it to their house and the neighborhood that they chose, and all of those factors about it. So they close on their house and they go online and they immediately are searching for someone to help them source their solar power. And by the way, I have someone who can do that if you're interested, but in my network. But anyway, and so that's an example of an active searcher. Someone is in that consideration thing. The challenge with active searchers is that there's only so many of them. There are only so many people who woke up today and say, I have a problem, I have the X problem, I need to solve it right now. And I'm going online and I'm figuring out how I'm going to do it. The challenge is, like this iceberg diagram, there are only so many active searchers. Those are the people above the waterline. But passive prospects, like an iceberg, there are so many more people below the waterline that are working, that you could tap into and start to get in front of them and make decisions about you. So that's when we get into the awareness stage. These are known as your future buyers, and you need to kind of warm them up. So back to the solar example, we've got, this is where you've got somebody who maybe lives in a house already. They're a homeowner and they're a good prospect for solar. They live in the right neighborhood. They've got, but maybe this person doesn't know about particular tax credits that are available, or they think it's too complicated, or they think they can't afford it. And so they need to be sort of warmed up and educated about some of these various factors so that they can decide that they want solar, and then they're going to go to you since you're the person who's been educating them all along. And that third stage, advocacy, is really all about those word of mouth buyers and spreading word of mouth. And so back to that solar example, you've got the day the solar is being installed on your house, you've got the trucks out front with the company name on the side. People are walking up to you and asking, hey, how did that go? And what's your bill really like? And how did that help you out? And you're saying, these guys or gals, these people were awesome. This company was really amazing. They gave me all kinds of information. And, I really am saving quite a bit on my energy bills because of this. And I'm actually feeding energy back to the grid. And so then he's talking to this one guy's talking to all of the neighbors, and they're starting to think about it too. And so that's what word of mouth. So when you look at how marketing strategies map to those particular things, and based on how it influences the buying cycle, deciding what strategy to use becomes 100 times, 1,000% easier. Because again, as a reminder, your marketing efforts will only ever influence one of those three categories of people. And so this is another way of thinking of it. We can put individual people into sort of separate avatar groups or personas. And so we've got sort of seekers. These are the active searchers on the left who are actively looking for a solution for their problem. They have money in hand and they're ready to buy. And so an example there, let's change our model a little bit, talking with an example of dentists. So a seeker is somebody who maybe moved to town and needs a new dentist. So they're in the market and they're looking. Or maybe they have an emergency right now and they need to get it solved. We've got switchers. These are people who are already getting help, but they're not, but they may be interested in finding a new practitioner. And so again, with the dentist, maybe they don't like their dentist. Maybe they had a bad experience. Maybe they have trouble getting an appointment on a regular basis. All of these things go into why someone might be a switcher. And so we need to kind of get in front of them, and so they kind of bridge the gap between those active searchers and passive audiences, the switchers. The uninspired are people who might be interested in going to the dentist, but they're not inspired to take action today. And so getting in front of them about your practice and how maybe you offer, as a dentist, you offer sedation dentistry, and maybe that's something that would appeal to that person. And that also sort of spills over into the unaware. These are people who are unaware that they have a problem that need to be fixed. Maybe they hate going to the dentist. And so someone who, maybe they would prefer a dentist office that has therapy pets in the office, that has sedation dentistry available. Or they might be unaware of technology. There are technologies now where you can get like a crown made while you wait. So they measure, you go in, you get your mouth scanned, they measure it. They have basically a 3D printer in the back that they print the crown for you out of porcelain right there. And you don't have to go back and make an appointment 3 weeks later. And so that could be a really great way, to get people aware of something and help them choose your practice over somebody else's. So again, we can develop personas and avatars based on the buying cycle and help to come up with strategies and tactics that are going to appeal to each of those. Right, so that kind of goes through the different cycles. Again, I should have advanced to that slide while I was going through it. So when you take all of that into consideration, we've done that. We've been doing this for, a decade at least, and a couple of decades I have personally, but we come up with a sort of a formula, a framework that can help you attract more customers and create more customer activity over time. So first of all, just a little bit of why a framework is important. So this is a framework that gives us a structure to think about and to help understand what it is that we're doing. And sometimes you need all of the puzzle pieces to fit together to see the big picture. So have you ever seen a competitor that just seems to be crushing it? Like, I have people who come to me and are like, there's this other competitor and their trucks are always out there. I see them everywhere and they really seem to be crushing it. And I've tried like copying their Facebook ads, or I've tried doing this, but it's just not working. I'm not getting the same results. And so you get this, I run into this all the time where we've tried this already. It really doesn't work. And the secret is that you haven't really you haven't really stuck to a framework. You haven't built a foundation and up on it. So this brings me to my story, my journey working out at the gym. I joined a gym. I've been a member of a gym for, on and off for years, but in around 2008, I joined a gym here in Baltimore called Meadow Mill, and I worked out pretty regularly. I'd go to a class once a week, and I'd do things here or there, and it was always kind of hit or miss, and I never really saw results. I mean, I felt a little bit better every time I got through with a class, but it wasn't consistent. So fast forward about 10 years, in about 2018, I want to say 2019, I joined a gym called OPEX in Baltimore. OPEX stands for Optimum Experience. And that gym does a number of things. It balances not only working out, but your choices you make with your lifestyle and diet and nutrition. And so it balances all of that out. And on top of that, every workout you schedule and your trainer sends you the workout on your phone. And you go through the prescribed workout on your phone, and your trainer gives you a very strong, what's the word? A very strong framework, for lack of a better word, of what exactly you should do next. And I have to say that after a year and a half of working out there, I was seeing results. I was making great progress, and it was very rewarding. So I got, you record not only do you get your workout on your gym, but you record your results on the gym, and it's mapped, and you meet with the trainer all the time. And the other thing is, this is a neat model because your trainer isn't necessarily the one at the gym, but there's always a trainer at the gym, and there are only 8 stations or 10 stations. So you're always working out with someone supervising you. So they can look up your workout on an iPad and give you pointers and help you make sure you're doing things properly. And so that framework was really important for me and my physical health. And so you might ask, how does that apply to your marketing? Well, here's the framework that I'm talking about. And this is the activity. These are the various activities and things that we sort of recommend for clients in how we move through the various marketing tactics. So we've got the foundation at the bottom. Then we talk about active searchers. We talk about passive audiences. And when you've got all 3 of those things balanced, when you get to the top, you can kind of turn the dials individually to create the kind of customer activity on demand that you need at any given moment. And so that's what we're going to go into next. This first layer, the marketing foundation, is where you establish credibility. It's where you communicate the basics about what your business does, and you create trust that's required to capture customers. Why is the foundation important? It's because it's just like you're building a house. You've got to make sure you've got that solid foundation on which you can build everything else. If you aren't building that trust, if you aren't making that good impression with your online reputation and your website and maybe your social media presence, you're not effectively building that trust for people to go help you or for people to choose you. And this is where we talk about something that we call the trust tipping point. All of those little green circles along the way are touch points that people are going to find either online or in person about your company. And each one of those is going to either negatively or positively affect their level of skepticism. And once you get them over that trust tipping point, now they're going to make a decision. They've decided and they're going to work with you. And now you just need to kind of close the deal. So which strategies have an impact on your marketing foundation? Your website, I already mentioned, needs to be professional, modern, and clearly communicate what you do. Reputation management. An online business review program can be helpful for you, and it can help people understand that you really are the only good solution in town. Your Google business profile is really important. It needs to be complete and provide information that shows you're in business. And social media activity can be really helpful as well. So going back to your website, it's your digital storefront, right? Look at these 2 businesses. If you asked me for a referral for a business and I sent you to the address of the place on the left, I said, these folks are awesome. They do really great work. You would show up at this storefront and you'd probably be maybe even a little bit nervous to get out of the car to go into this place. But if I sent you to the place on the right, you'd be like, oh yeah, I can totally do business with these people. I want to go in there and check it out and look around. And so your website is your digital storefront. And which impression are you making with your website is the big question. When we do websites and we create websites for our clients, we don't just make a pretty website, but we take into account what are their goals and what are they trying to do and how do we help them reach those goals. So next, we're talking about your online reputation. And that's driven by your online reviews. Online reviews are really important. There's a bunch of statistics here, but the 2 most important ones are the third one down. 85% of people trust online reviews as much as a personal recommendation. That's just crazy, right? So you can ask your best friend or your sister-in-law or your cousin exactly, who are they doing business with. And then you're going to go online, you're going to trust some stranger posting on the internet as much as that recommendation based on the reviews for a business. And the other thing is that in the green at the bottom, many customers look at more than 2 reviews. The other thing is that 77% of customers think that reviews older than 3 months aren't relevant. So they have to be constantly being refreshed. And this number, a more recent number that I've seen, is something like 48% of customers or consumers think that reviews older than 2 weeks aren't relevant. So that's really kind of important. The other thing to know about your reviews is it's affecting how you show up in organic search online as well. So if someone types in best something near me, like in this search result or in this result example at the top, it's only going to show businesses with a 4.0 star rating and above. So that's something that Google rolled out last year in some of their updates. The other thing is that you can filter based on star rating. So you can ratchet that up to, I only want to see star ratings 4.5 and above if I want. So your star rating is really important in terms of just showing up for people searching. So this makes me think of a colleague was in a BNI meeting or some other networking group, and someone asked for a referral on something. He said, oh, I know this guy is really great. Do this. And so the individual went online and looked it up, and he got back to my colleague and said, hey, you know what, that referral you gave me, that was a dud. I went online, they had like a 2.5 star rating, and I didn't even bother calling them. But how many people aren't even going to tell you that? They're just going to move on. So that star rating can be really important. So it starts with, so moving on, there's also the Google My Business or the Google Business Profile listing. Is yours complete? Have you claimed it? Are you optimizing that? Because that also affects how you show up in this map 3-pack up here. So that is all driven, that map 3-pack is all driven by your Google Business Profile. So once you have a strong marketing foundation, it's time to start looking at active searchers. That's the next layer in this roadmap that we have. And some of the strategies we use here are that Google optimizing and maximizing the reach of your Google Business Profile, and pay-per-click campaigns can be helpful for getting some quick wins now while you work on some of the other things in your marketing foundation. So active search is all about finding the hot buyers, people with money in hand who really want to who need what you're offering right now. And you're all familiar with the way a search result page looks. We've got, at the top, we've got ads, and that's what pay-per-click does. And towards the bottom, we've got your local SEO, your map 3-pack, your Google Business Profile. And there are some other factors that go into that. And then below that, you've got your organic results, which are all driven by the content on your website. And so in the pay-per-click area, pay-per-click is really cool because you only pay every time someone clicks on your ad. So your ad can be shown 1 million times, but you're only going to pay when people are clicking. The nice thing about this is you can target specific search queries and search terms, and then you can show up for the most relevant searches here. Now, people know these are advertisements, but there's still some good traction you can get here for quick wins. And it can be helpful if your Google profile is not up to date, you're not showing up in the map 3-pack, or your organic search engine optimization is not very strong. This can be helpful in getting you in front of people who are searching for your products and services. The map 3-pack, or sometimes it's a 4-pack if there's an ad in it, but the map 3-pack is also really helpful. There are a lot of people, this creates a lot of engagement as well. And this is all driven by that Google Business Profile. And it's also helpful to remember that your search results, the results you get when you search, are not the same as what other people get. It's based on that personal search algorithm that is driven by the cookies and the tracking data that is in your browser. And it's also depending on where you are when you do the search, the results will be different. So this is an example of looking for a roofing contractor in Baltimore with a 10-mile radius. So people who are in that sort of central Baltimore area, or South Baltimore, sorry, just south of the harbor, are going to be there on page 1, right? Based on where they are. But when you get a little further afield, this individual, this business for roofing, a specific roofing contractor, wasn't showing up, wasn't even showing up on page 1. And in some cases, not at all. And so it's based on where you are, the search results are going to be different. And you, with dedicated work on your Google Business Profile and adding photos to your Google Business Profile, with the proper metadata and schema markup, can help expand the area of green search results, of showing up on page 1 in a larger geographic area. So after you tap into those hot buyers through pay-per-click or the Google Business Profile, then it's time to start looking at those passive prospects, those people below the waterline. And that's where we talk about things like display ads on Facebook and the Google Display Network, or retargeting ads, which are another way of creating awareness. So social media is a great way to create awareness. We're all familiar with Facebook as a platform, or even LinkedIn advertising, or Instagram, things like that. And people will use your social media pages, your Facebook pages, to find out, are you open, and how people can work with you, and have you shifted, and all these other things. Are you hosting events? Are you are you doing special offers? The challenge is that if you have a Facebook page and you're keeping it posted, that not many people are seeing that right now. There was an update to the Facebook algorithm recently in the last few years, where it used to be that everybody who liked your page was seeing your posts. But now it's more like 6% of the people who like your page are actually seeing your organic posts. And that's just people who like your page. Like the random people who are just on the internet aren't necessarily seeing your posts unless they're searching for you specifically. So Facebook billboard and boomerang or retargeting ads are a great strategy to get in front of people, because you can really zero in on how those people are seeing your, on who is seeing your ad. So you can really target in. The great thing about Facebook is that we always complain that Facebook knows all this stuff about you. The great thing about that, though, is that Facebook allows digital marketers to really use that information to deliver ads and content to people they want to see their content. So for an example, you can say this ad for a pool builder in the Southwest, you can say that, okay, we want only homeowners that are in the top 10% zip codes of household income. Maybe they're married and have children, they're middle-aged, or they're in the middle of the age bracket, they're not quite retired yet, they're young, and maybe they're within a 50-mile radius, because that's where it's easy for us to get to build them a pool, right? And so all of those things can be really helpful. You can also bring back warm traffic. So people with retargeting ads on Facebook and on the Google Display Network, you can bring back people who might have gone to your website and visited in the last 30 days and get in front of them with either a special offer or some kind of ad that will be targeted just to get people who are maybe already a little bit warm to get in front of them again. And you can set all kinds of parameters around those as well. And you've all experienced this, right? So you've maybe done you've been looking for a product or something online, let's say a mountain bike, and you're looking at this mountain bike and you're like, okay, I think I like this one, but I'm not going to buy it right now. And you close the window and you move on. And suddenly that mountain bike is following you everywhere you go. It's in your Facebook feed. It's on your it's when you're on some other random websites, you see that banner ad across the top or down the sidebar, and that thing is just following you everywhere you go. And that's what a retargeting ad is. It can be really helpful for getting back in front of people. And so those are particular strategies to help you build that foundation and help to attract some of those people who are actively looking for your products and services, and then get the word out and start warming up people who might be interested in but don't know about you very much. And so those are the three things that we talked about. I hope that helped to provide some clarity for you today around how to kind of leverage this digital marketing landscape to get the results you need for your business right now. So I have a little free training for you about optimizing your Google business profile. If you go to our website, dossu.com/free Google training, you'll be able to access, there are 3 short videos there that will walk you through how to set up your Google profile. The first one is how to set it up and claim it and set it up. The second one is about sort of making some optimizations. And the third one is using your Google profile to keep in front of people by, you can do posts to your Google business profile now. You have been able to for a while, but it's almost like a social media thing, but it also helps engage, it helps you appear for more people in search. It gives Google the sense that you have that expertise, authority, and trust that Google requires to start serving up your business in more search results. So one of the things that I just want to encourage everyone to do is to take a next step in your marketing. If you feel like that baseline, your foundation is not very strong, look into that Google business profile, start firming that up, start making that good, use the training. Also, if you want to send me an email, I think the next slide has my email address, or Natalie can help connect you. If you want to send me an email, I also have in addition to the videos, I have a booklet that goes along with it that I can send you the link for. That will walk you through it in a step-by-step process. But just take the next step. If you already have a strong Google business profile, but maybe your reviews aren't strong, look at ways to help kind of automate that review request process, or maybe take a look at your website and see if are ways to make it stronger. Get that foundation shored up. Start getting in front of active searchers, or start creating awareness for those passive audiences. Whatever you want to do, don't get overwhelmed by the range of possibilities. Just look into taking the next step, whatever that is. You've already taken one step by showing up today with a webinar, and so that's awesome. But feel free to get in touch if you're interested in learning more about taking any kind of next step. But just do something, okay? Do something to help your online presence and create more customer activity. So yeah, we've got that free resource, free Google training, and we're open for any questions if you want to now. You can get that free guide for your Google business profile, or I also do playbooks, which walks through specific that pyramid for a specific company, and I do that free as on request for businesses, local businesses, because at the end of the day, what really drives me is community. And I didn't go into this because I was a little concerned about time, but what really drives me at the end of the day is building strong communities. And I came up through theater. And when I was a kid, we would do productions in our garage where the neighborhood would get together. My dad would clean out the garage, and everyone would come together, and we'd do these productions in our garage. They were, production is probably a pretty loose term, but it was a lot of fun. And we used to do that. And I just remembered that sense of community that was built around that storytelling opportunity and storytelling process. And that followed me through, I did theater in high school and did community theater in the summers, and my undergraduate degree was in theater. And I moved to Baltimore initially to work at Center Stage, which was also had a big effort at the time through a foundation to build more community-based programs and opportunities for people in Baltimore around the theater. And I moved from there into activism, and I did social activism for a number of years. And then I started my business working with nonprofits mostly and membership organizations in 2001. And over the years, I've come to realize and really come to realize that when we help local businesses, locally owned businesses especially, we're really helping to build our communities. And that's at the heart of what I want to do. And so that's why we offer those free playbooks. If I can help business owners understand what they're doing and what those specific marketing tactics are, what kind of results they're going to get from those specific marketing tactics, then we're going to build stronger communities. And that's why I like to be involved with the chambers and the programs at various chambers around Maryland. And so that's why we also offer those free playbooks. So yeah, I think that's the last slide. So yeah, I don't see anything in the chat, but.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much, Dominic, for sharing. That was really great. And I'll send an email out to everybody. I'll be sure to include these links so everybody can grab all their resources. And I'm going to try to get this recording up as well on the Venture Access website, so people can go back and review, take more notes, and really take that next step. Great. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. So hopefully we will see you next time.
Awesome. Take care, everyone. Thanks for coming.
Thanks. Bye.